So for the last 2 years, my Instagram growth chart was completely flat. I'm talking stagnant, no growth, most days losing some followers, some days gaining some followers, but no motion at all. And I made some changes this year, and in the last 90 days, I've seen a growth of 13,000 new followers on my Instagram and 6,000 of those followers being in the last 30 days. And today, I'm going to share with you what those changes are so you can apply them to your Instagram and hopefully save your stagnant account as well. And big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. We'll talk about how they work into my Instagram and are a big part of it a little bit later on. Now, to give this video some context, let me share some backstory on how I use Instagram. I am a photographer. I've been using Instagram since 2014, and primarily I've always looked at it the same way most photographers do. I want it to be the same platform it was way back then, a place where you share your best creative work and you cultivate an audience of people who appreciate that work. But in the last couple years, especially, Instagram has changed dramatically, and that is the reason why my account was completely flat for so long. Now, that leads into the first change that I made, which was adopting a new mindset around Instagram. Finally accepting that this platform has changed. It's not the place it was in 2014, and if I want to grow, I have to adapt to this. And I had to start looking at the glass as half full. A lot of photographers and creative people make the mistake of thinking that Instagram is working against them and the game is rigged. But in reality, Instagram is simple. It's just an application that's trying to keep people on the application. They're competing with other apps that are also looking to keep people's attention on those apps, and that's all Instagram cares about. So that leads to the second thing that I've changed, which is realizing that Instagram has two main types of content. You have content that is intended to share what you're doing as a person, the brand that you're creating. In my case, that is my photography, but there's also content that is intended to grow your audience. And by making this distinction, it actually takes a lot of the pressure out of Instagram. You realize that you can share things that are just intended for your audience, intended for people who appreciate what you're doing, and then you can create things that draw in a new audience. And for the sake of today's video, we're going to focus on that growth type content because that's the biggest change that I've made to my Instagram. And part of that mindset shift is accepting the fact that Reels are now a part of Instagram. And by using Reels to your advantage and looking at the cup as half full, you now have a very powerful tool to bring people in to your brand to hopefully appreciate and see the beautiful things that you're creating, regardless of what they are. Like me, it's photography. I'm sure a lot of you is photography, but it can literally be anything. Now, the big question is, how do you get people to care about your Instagram Reels? And when it comes to Instagram Reels, the biggest mistake that I've seen as well as made for a long time is not establishing the why of your content immediately. Think about it like this. People are just scrolling through their phones. They're looking for something to grab their attention. You want to make sure that when someone swipes to your video, they immediately or as fast as possible can understand the reason in which they are watching this particular video. Now, I've talked about this before. Internet media has three main objectives and ways you deliver value. One is entertainment, one is inspiration, one is education. Now, regardless of which one of those value propositions you're looking to portray to your audience, you want to make sure that you're optimizing one of those things from the start. People need to understand what's about to happen. Are they going to be entertained? Are they going to be inspired? Are they going to be taught something? Now, the way you do this is by creating a strong hook. A hook essentially establishes the niche that you are trying to give value to. Now, hook writing is a skill in itself. We're not really going to get into that today. You can look at my Instagram and see the videos that are performing well. It's usually because the hooks are good on those videos. A prime example of this is a recent reel I made where I showed how I set up my new iPhone as a professional photographer. That is the hook. Now, the reason why this is an effective hook is because I'm letting people know the purpose of this content immediately. Here is how you set up your iPhone if you want the best pictures. So people are going to watch if that's what they're looking for. But I also establish my authority and my brand by throwing in that little note on the end saying, as a professional photographer. So now if someone watches the reel and they have any interest in photography, topics around photography, or the art of photography, they are more likely to follow me because that reel aligns with my brand, and now they want to stick around and get more value from me and see what I'm doing. So I'm growing my audience by delivering value and also identifying what I do in that hook. Now, an example of content not having a strong wrong hook and not working because of it is these mini vlog videos I was making a few months ago. I experimented with this and I created kind of behind the scenes look on how I was making pictures, and these videos fell completely flat. And the reason they fell flat is because there was no value definition or no reason established for someone to watch that video from the beginning. Honestly, all I would have to do to make these videos more effective is simply do a voiceover saying, here's a day in my life as a professional photographer, or here's a day in my life making pictures as a content creator. Something to establish the reason for this video from the start. And remember, if you're creating a reel and it's not performing well, it's probably because you're not maximizing the value delivery of either education, entertainment, or inspiration. So if your reels aren't doing well, focus on upping one of those things as fast as possible in the content you're creating. And you can do this with a voiceover, with your writing, or simply with the visuals or text on the screen. With Instagram, it's important to recognize the fourth change that I've kind of made, which is understanding that Instagram is basically a dartboard right now. The more darts you throw, so the more videos you post, the more likely you are for a reel to pop off and potentially go viral or expand to a bigger audience. Now, the pitfalls in adopting this post more type outlook is that you end up watering down the value delivery in your content so much that you're not building a true brand identity. You've probably seen a bunch of pages at this point where people have a lot of views, but all their videos are just like short text on the screen and then read the caption. Yeah, that's gaming the system. It's getting you a lot of views, but it's not creating something that has long-term brand identity potential. And that leads to the fifth change that I've made, which is creating frameworks and a system that allows me to take ideas and turn those ideas into pieces of content that have a level of consistency and also give me that volume necessary to take advantage of the fact that, like I mentioned, Instagram is a dartboard. Now, before I get into that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace allows me to take my Instagram traffic and turn it into potential customers by offering a free product. My free product is a free preset that people can download, join my email list, and from that email list that is managed by Squarespace, they automatically receive an email with a discount code for my paid presets. Now, this easy email automation system from my Instagram is responsible for $1,000 or more of revenue into my business every single month. So I'm optimizing this content I'm creating on Instagram and turning it into a business tool for me. And if you're interested in doing the same thing, you can go to squarespace.com/EvanRamp, start a free trial, and use my code EvanRamp at checkout to save 10%. And if that sounds overwhelming to you, you're in luck. I have a tutorial on this channel where I break down how to do it step by step. It's linked in the description down below. And if you're looking to sell any products on your website, whether that's physical or digital products, I have a tutorial breaking that down as well. Or if you're someone who's looking to just showcase their work and have a perfect looking portfolio, you're in luck. I have a tutorial breaking that down as well. So if you're looking to take your business to the next level and do it in the easiest way possible with Squarespace's drag and drop templates, you can go to squarespace.com/EvanRamp, start a free trial, and once you're done and you're ready to send your site live, you can use code EvanRamp to save 10% at checkout. Big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the fifth change that I've made, which is creating a system and frameworks that allow me to take ideas and create content more consistently and also have a higher output as a content creator on Instagram. So more opportunities to grow. What I do is start with me. What do I enjoy? I look inward and figure out how can I make things online that are authentic to me. One thing that I've noticed about myself personally is I don't like sitting and talking on the camera on Instagram. I do that enough on YouTube. I do it enough on moderncreativemoney.com. I do it enough on phone calls. I don't want to do it in another place. So I enjoy doing voiceovers on Instagram, and that works really well for me because it's true to who I am. So the content aligns with me, and this is one of the biggest problems that most people have, is they're trying to create content to fit in with trends or fit into what they think people want, rather than making something that's true to them that aligns with a potential audience. Now here's the thing, the easiest way to figure out how you like to create content is by actually doing it. So what I recommend next is creating some type of schedule for yourself to follow. Now in this schedule, you want to identify what you're going to be posting each week and what the objective of those posts is. I recommend recommend starting extremely conservative. For me, what I did was one video each week that was intended to grow my audience, and then one photo post each week intended to just share what I'm doing with my audience. And once I did that, I gained a little bit of momentum on Instagram because I was finally posting consistently. And with these more consistent posts, I was able to figure out this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what's working, this is what's not, and I was able to iterate. And once I was iterating on these different pieces of content, I was able to add more content into that schedule over time. And once you start figuring out what works and what you enjoy making, you can have reusable frameworks that you use for any idea that you have. So on my Instagram, something I've been doing is this book club video series. I know exactly how these videos are going to look based on the book I want to talk about. And all I have to do is write a script, create the video, plug the idea into the framework, and I now have a piece of content to share. And that idea started from me working on my own book and looking around at this book collection I had and saying, hey, this might be interesting and something cool I can share with people who are interested in photography outside of just my creative work or outside of just tips or tricks or something like that. And when I am posting more of a trick or a technique or something like that, I also have a framework that I apply to that information. It goes hook, it goes problem, body, resolution. And I talk about that in my course on moderncreativemoney.com. So if you're looking to take everything in today's video and figure out how to actually incorporate it into your business in an effective way, you can check that out. It's linked in the description down below. And the final change that I've adopted to Instagram that all of you need to understand is you have nothing to lose, especially if your account is not growing. If you are stagnant like I was for 2 years, try something new. It's okay. It's okay to fail. And as you fail and as you try new things and build out these frameworks and understand what works and what doesn't work, you now have the information necessary to actually get to a point where your account is growing. So don't look at Instagram as something that is rigged or working against you. Look at it as something new that you can learn and new skills you can add in to your creative stack. So if you enjoyed today's video, do me a solid, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you are not yet, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.